Mm. What is up, everyone? AMR, Rex, Tor. How's your night going so far? Back to regular scheduled programming. I know some people probably kind of missed that little live that I did this Monday, but that was more like a prelude, more like a short kind of live stream, just off the dome, kind of raw. But this one's we're going back to the more planned, open panels, more structured layout. I'm doing pretty good, man. It's kind of muggy where I'm at right now, so give me a second. I gotta grab some water. Okay. Can you guys see that okay? All right. So now we can get started today. The topic that I've kind of discussed briefly on other live streams, but we haven't really sat down and just talked about it fully. How? Because we talked about the cause, but now it's time to talk about the effect. Where do we go from here? But for starters, image, a representation of the external form of a person or thing in art. The general impression that a person, organization, or product presents to the public. That basically is where our problem lies, right in there. The general impression that a person presents to the public. And that pretty much definition pretty much could summarize about 95% of the problems that we as light-skinned black men are dealing with nowadays. And it's something I've talked about countless times on this channel and videos. Image. Before, we didn't have this problem. Because we had zoom this back out again. And it can be by a variety of factors, especially considering that men as a whole nowadays pretty much there's a broader agenda going on with men and masculinity, but it's something that we as a group of men got attacked for first. Before we had masculine representation like Huey P. Newton. And probably one of the greatest examples of them all, Mr. Malcolm X himself. Exactly, Torella. Well, that's all going to be discussed tonight. Yes, exactly. We back in the early 70s and late 60s, we didn't have this problem, and as a whole, we were uh, respected more as men. But that simply isn't the case anymore because we probably have had the biggest fall from grace than any group of men walking on the planet right now. And Malcolm X and Huey P. Newton have been replaced with this. This is what we have nowadays. I I would have to look him up. I don't even know who that is, honestly. And another example, the recent first overall pick in the NFL draft, Caleb Williams. Okay, I don't know why it's doing that. Yes, Muhammad Ali also. The early 60s and 70s. But they have been replaced with Caleb Williams and Drake. And make no mistake about it, this is all done by design. Because these are the type of light skinned men nowadays that the camera is constantly on, whether on purpose or not. And there is most definitely an agenda here. These will always be some of the first guys that they always will pan the camera to and represent us always. Hmm. Well, I've honestly never heard of this guy. But even if you look at this guy right here, this this is what I talk about when I talk about image and representation. Now, it's a night and day difference just by the way imagery is very important nowadays. There's a such thing as subliminal messages. And if you keep repeating the same process over and over and over again, eventually people start to believe it. That's why the media is such a powerful tool. And the media is a dangerous tool. Because even if you look at a guy like this is what I mean when I say positive representation. But it's just simply not the case anymore. And the ones that could be are not put in the forefront. And even with his, let me see his name, Haley. I will have to see how his name is pronounced. I don't want to butcher his name. But notice you don't hear anything about this guy. Like I never even knew who this guy was. And I'm very well versed in Black history. But you're not really going to hear too much about figures like this, especially nowadays. Well, Tor, yeah, we definitely have to value ourselves. But the problem is for every one of us that does, there's probably about 10 of us that just make us look like a joke more and more by the day. The king of Ethiopia. Hmm. Okay, I have to figure out how to get this photo bigger. Interesting. Facts. Facts. I have never heard of this guy. I might have to look into him one day. See, might even make a video about it. But this is what I mean by positive imagery. A man, a wife, and his kids. If we want to rebuild our image, this is where we're going to have to start. We need to slowly but surely destroy this narrative that's been pushed by the powers that be and the black community itself. And if that means having to step on the necks of a few couple of people that a lot of us would consider family, then that's just a risk we might just have to take. We can't keep going like this. This has went on long enough. And if the black community feels some way about it, then oh well. This destructive image has went on long enough. Ethiopia, yeah, a lot of the black people from Ethiopia I noticed have a lot of heavy like African and Arabic ancestry from what I noticed. That's where sometimes you can see like some of these features like the pronounced noses and all that. If this I talked about that briefly on my stream Monday. I was showing a bunch of videos with light skinned men that were just standing down and just letting black people just a black man just say all types of just crazy stuff about it. If we want to rebuild our image, that's where we need to draw a line in the sand. And there's we also have to um, This also needs to stop. Taking back our historical figures in media. When Hollywood decides to blackwash our figures, we need to boycott these movies. I have yet to see this movie to this day because of this. I have never seen it all these years and have no plans to see it. Just like everyone else can protest when they feel they're not represented well, so can we. Our masculinity should be represented by us, not other groups of men. Our masculine figure should be portrayed by us. There's no ifs, no ands, it's non negotiable. And Rex Jones brought up a good point on our last stream, but I think even with like black movies, if there's black movies that have every brand of black people but don't have us, then those movies should be boycotted as well. When I say image, this is exactly what I mean. Like I don't think people realize like how disrespectful it is to have black movies nowadays that openly crap on our very existence. Like it's I don't think people realize how insulting that is to have black movies that not have us just representing at all. Black Panther didn't have it, Sinners didn't have it, and we just keep watching these movies like uh, read the room. Like it's becoming increasingly more obvious by the powers that be that they are erasing us, and the black community does not give two craps about it. And you know what, Lighthouse, that is a very good point as well. Jordan Peele. He's another one that should be called out for his nonsense. Because if you look at his movies, but in fact, let's take a look at Jordan Peele's casting. Jordan Peele is a biracial man that just flat out refuses to cast biracial men in his movies. Like, look at this. It's just terrible. But if we went up to light skinned men on the street, they say, "Well, uh, it's black representation." Well, they're not representing you. That is the problem, and that mindset is why we find ourselves here right now. We're not getting represented on these movies. These movies are making it perfectly clear that when they say black, it doesn't include us. And until that changes, we have to act accordingly. There was another black movie that. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's the irony is I actually seen Coming to America too. And you know, the pretty ironic thing about this movie is that James Earl Jones, rest in peace, by the way, his character, who was the king of Zamunda, died. He was killed off. And it was kind of subliminal when you think about it. Here we had the only masculine, light skinned male in the movie who was alive during the 80s, and his character dies. It's very telling that his character couldn't even exist in a black movie nowadays. He had to be killed off. And once he was killed off, that was it. There was not any light skinned men in the movie. I agree, Lighthouse. I agree. Uh Aaron Pierre is kind of in this rough spot right now. He's like a needle in a haystack right now. Because if you think about it, his career could be a lot bigger than what it is, but he's kind of got this problem nowadays where he is trying to get through politics. And even in his case, um, he was cast as Green Lantern, and there are actually a good deal of people that are complaining about this.
We don't have to be comic book fans. We don't even have to own a comic book to understand blatant colorism when we see it. Intentionally made the character dark skinned in spite of the studio's pushback tells us everything that we have came to understand about Hollywood and its long obsession with light skin.
See, this is the problem. Now, I think anybody who's been watching my channel long enough knows that dark skinned black men have been opinion about movies and colorism should not even be taken seriously to the slightest. Honestly, when if dark skinned black men even mention it, their whole opinion should just be shot down immediately. Because if anybody has a chance, all I can point to are my two blackwashing videos where I have nearly an hour long list of dark skinned black men that have played light skinned black male characters. But here we have a case with Aaron Pierre, who was cast as Jon Stewart, and we have pushback. This is what I talk about when I say that these people need to be called out, rightfully so. And anybody who defends it needs to be put to the fire, figuratively, not literally. I know the YouTube naysayers, they might take that out of context, but figuratively.
Actors playing dark skinned characters. We've seen it before and we are tired. Let's talk about it.
Oh God, please. Notice the likes. Look at the likes. Everyone wants to make it out like I'm making this up. 2,200 likes. Let me see if anybody. But the thing that blows my mind is just how ignorant a lot of black people seem to be with the. I honestly, when I got on YouTube, there was nothing that disappointed me more than just how ignorant a lot of black people seem to be with these conversations. I really wanted to give black people more credit than this, but I see that black people just really just do not have even the slightest understanding of how this works. But notice, take a good look at this. Let me see if I can pull her channel. Of course, light skin saviors
We don't have to be comic book.
are usually the first ones. And we're still talking about Storm. I really hope they get Storm's casting right so these people can stop crying about it.
Oh shit! I didn't even realize you let me in.
What's up, Tour?
What's up, man? How you been?
I'm all right, man.
Good to hear from you, man. I can't wait to get AMR up here too, man.
Absolutely. He always brings the fire.
Definitely, definitely, definitely. You know, but yeah, man, I totally agree with you. You know, our image has taken a serious hit. You know what I'm saying? You know, I've been on streams with you in the past probably over 3 years now, probably right, 3 or 4 years. You've been doing streams.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I've been following your content for a while, man, and you know, I've seen it happen. I've seen it how, you know, out in the real world, you know, going out different places, a lot of us, light skinned men, it feels like at times we're really on our own.
It
Our
does.
image is torn apart, all that. And, you know, I try to connect with other light skinned men all the time, but it's like you're playing a game of trying to track them down. Like, yo, man, like, let's grab a drink, you know what I'm saying? Like, get to know each other and be cool, you know what I'm saying? But it seems like a lot of light skinned men, it's like they're like aloof, or like, they rather go and try to improve their blackness, or they are in the white community or another community. Eventually you sometimes do run into them where they're cool with you and they say what's up with you. But I think it's just, before light skinned men can even take that step forward to improve their image, what I'm saying, they have to be aligned with one another. I would say a majority. You see how in other groups they're on code and they're aligned with each other, even down to like the feminist movement, even down to like black women. Like, you see how aligned they are with each other, like whether it's good or bad, they're
You see
aligned
it
with
in
each
these
other on
comments
code.
too.
And we don't have that. You know what I'm saying? We're too busy chasing everybody else's identity, and it's just
I,
like,
I think the problem lies in the simple fact that there's a lot of outside forces that are controlling the narrative. And the few light skinned men that you do see on YouTube, and even with them, they've kind of faded away into oblivion. Most of them are pretty much trying to align themselves with the black community.
yeah,
It's like if you look at like the light skinned male YouTubers, they're pretty much just doing their own thing, or they're just trying to prove how black and down they are.
yeah. I mean, you know, it reminds me um of the case where I heard about my uncle. He's my father is a light skinned dude, and my uncle my uncles are light skinned dudes. They were his brothers, and one of my uncles, he was just one of those light skinned dudes, you know, always out in the streets, always trying to like get in fights, always trying to prove himself around the black community, like trying to prove how tough he is and all that stuff. Like just with them not growing up with a father figure, and like that kind of impacts them heavily. I see this common trend with a lot of light skinned men where they just don't have the proper father figure in the household. And I don't know what your thoughts is on that. Like, where, say for example, as a light skinned man, you're growing up in a household 9 times out of 10 with a father who doesn't look like you.
You know, what's funny about what you just said is I literally was just having a talk with an older light skinned man practically about the same. And he had even mentioned the fact that because he was like high yellow, that he had to prove himself. And I was just sitting listening to him. He was talking about how he had to be a thug, he had to be rough, he had to just basically prove himself, he had to fight all the time. And the crazy thing about it wasn't even just black, it was white people too. And it's like we don't really hear too much about this. And
Yeah.
I worked with another like older light skinned man who had the same problem out of white people.
Yeah,
So it's
my father too, and my uncles too. They had that problem, but then like they gotta go down the pit. I almost went down that pit myself too when I was younger.
yes, yeah.
And I'm glad I wised up and changed my ways. But you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of light skinned men go down that pit because, just because of their circumstances or the environment or what they're taught, and then they just go down that pit and they can't get out. Or, something bad happens, they end up in jail or killed. You know, it's terrible. And like I said, like, when you grow up in a household without the proper light skinned man as your father figure, how do you navigate that? How do you navigate the world when you see other men that look like you running around trying to prove themselves, and you think that's what you should be doing, fighting, getting in everybody's face, being hyper aggressive when it's not necessary? A lot of light skinned men have that energy. Like, you crack a joke, the wrong type of joke, they extra hyper aggressive, hypersensitive sometimes. And it kind of plays into that stereotype about light skinned men being stereotyped. But I think, yeah, but it comes back down to, like, without us not having a sense of identity and unity, we're gonna go off the cliff. Um, with that, trying to prove ourselves. Um,
I'm trying to find this video because I had seen a video basically summarizing everything you just said, and it was a black lady who said it. I'm trying to see. It's like a short or something. Let me see if I can find
yeah, take your time, man. Do what you gotta do.
it. It's around here somewhere. but I think what it all boils down to is the simple fact: sooner or later, light skinned men are gonna have to look at themselves in the mirror and ask themselves, how much longer do we want to keep? Because honestly, I know y'all and probably myself included, we're just at a point now. I'm just fed up with the black community's nonsense at this point.
Yeah.
They're not gonna change. They haven't. They've shown they don't want to change, and they've shown that they just don't care. So I think now that we've established that, I think we now need to move forward. And I think moving forward, and I'm about to start having more streams. I think we as a group of men need to even look at how white men operate.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And you know what I'm saying, like we discussed about, light skin male unity and stuff like that. You know, I've been around other groups like, just blacks obviously, white people operate how they operate, Hispanics, Indians, Middle Eastern people and Asian people. And the thing is about them is that like right, they have the structure, right? But you know, they have the fathers in the household, but one thing about them is that they all follow the same trend. It's all about money, power, and respect. At the end of the day, as men, if you don't have that, then trust me, like everything comes falling down like a set of dominoes. You know what I'm saying? Like it always comes back down to the money, power, and respect. And if you don't got no buying power, you ain't got no respect, and you ain't got no unity, you can forget it.
And that's until that changes, we're just going in circles right now.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you do for living, but you know, when you got a lot of light skinned men, who are not in industries, such as like finance, accounting, supply chain management, healthcare, anything like that. When I go into these places, I don't see a lot of light skinned men.
Neither do I.
It just sucks, you know what I'm saying? Like one of the last places I worked at, you know what I'm saying, I was one of the guys in administration, but there were two other light skinned dudes that were on the campus. One was a student and the other guy, he worked in maintenance and stuff like that. And you know what I'm saying, like I always made it my business to say what's up to them, see how they're doing. You know what I'm saying? And oh shit, AMR.
What's up, brother?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's going on, man?
Yeah, I was just like, man, I'm waiting to chomp at the bit, but but no, but with all that being said, I was also gonna add this part as well, like because where we live in this Western world, and that's also another issue
Mm-hmm.
that we've taken and tackled on quite, well, more than just quite a few of the things that the Western world that we live in
Mm-hmm.
happens to abide by.
Yeah.
Because and for all these other communities, including the Black community, and I think who was it that said this? Oh yeah, I think it was Black Mind who said this to this other dude named Jay Cash. He said, one of the things that we as MLS men face is that we just become too racially loyal. And I'm like, facts.
Racially
Too
loyal.
racially,
Yeah,
racially loyal to a group that will never see us the same way.
Yeah, never respect us, never want us around. I can see what you mean. I did listen to some of Black Mind's commentary too as well.
I think the thing with Black Mind is sometimes I think he means well, but sometimes I just get a little confused with like his
Yeah, and and I get what he's saying too, but it's like, dude, you're in the manosphere group, and not saying that there is no. Not me personally, I don't have an issue with manosphere guys or certain people, depending on who you are. But you're kind of like, on what do you call that? Like, it's like you're certain toting that line where, you know, sooner or later you keep, you know, trying to be pro-black male or you want to, sooner or later they're just gonna push you over a cliff, like the movie 300.
Yeah.
And that's why I kind of say I kind of side eye a lot of light skinned men in the black, because truth be told, the black manosphere was kind of created in defense against light skinned men, if we want to be totally honest. Because I've noticed with like even like before I got real heavily on YouTube, I could always sense it was like a slight anti-MLS man, like because most of the black manosphere dude were older, like darker skinned black men, and you can tell like there was like a slight, they would mask it, but it was always like a slight animosity there.
And also, I think somebody just said something about how the Eastern world don't care about light-skinned black men either. Well, maybe so, but my thing is though, you do have to, you know, again, either go pick the lesser of two evils. But let's look at it from the standpoint of like, because we do live in the West, and I wouldn't doubt that, you know, if we went over, if it was on the East side, you know, it would still be, you know, all hugs and Hallmark cards. I'm not saying that at all. But the thing about it is that you do got to make your mark.
Yeah.
You gotta go
Definitely.
somewhere. You do gotta take a stand, you know, somehow, some way. Even if we gotta lead it ourselves, and so be it.
So yeah, I mean, also, I mean, like even in Europe, light skinned men in Europe have the same problems that we do. Like in England, France, Germany, you know, you can look up these things on YouTube and find cases of like, you know, light skinned men or biracial men and women who have these problems too. Um, the lady Kay mentioned
Yeah.
light skinned men in Brazil. I mean, yeah, they're down there too. They're definitely down there.
I think
Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
oh no, you're good, but
Yeah.
I think a lot of this stuff can all just boil down to this fact that we're just adjacent to this black culture. And I think we, and this is going to be a hard pill to swallow, but I think we even got to start looking at black women a certain type of way.
Yep.
Like
You know
how
what?
much,
I was thinking the same thing. And I know for some there was gonna be a lot of feathers to ruffle, but hey, we ruffle feathers anyway. And we don't even have to do nothing.
like
Nothing.
how much longer are we just going to keep continuing this thread? Because black
And you know what
women,
though, hey, Brown and Beige, not to cut you off again, but I was also gonna add this point up in there as well. See, notice how in a way they are the main ones or the main culprits that will continue on that conversation and then get everybody else dragged along, and even some black dudes too, and with a very select few of us that falls for the okey doke. Because even with the last live stream that you did, um, I had to catch the playback, and there was these dudes that looked like the black KKK in Savannah, and I'm like, what the fuck? And the thing is, and where I was just like,
the
oh
South
my
is
god, like this is, I'm like, is this what this is what? I mean, I knew it was, you know, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was this bad. Like, damn, y'all think about us to the obsession to where what happened to y'all want to do to other people?
honestly
Damn.
when I saw, I couldn't believe that video was real. Honestly, I was just, you could tell I was just kind of stunned. Like I just had, like, have we really gotten? Has our fall from grace really been this bad? Where they just feel so safe that they can do stuff like this. Have we really reached
And
that point?
you know, right. And another thing too, I'm like, the mental illness has gone undiagnosed for so doggone long.
But we also
I'm
play a
like,
part
it's got to be, isn't it? Yeah, and we do, yeah, especially
because
the
we let it happen
saviors.
for too long. We just let them disrespect us for too long. So you know what I'm saying. So if people can just feel like they can just walk up and just speak to us or just make commentary to speak down on us like any type of way, and we don't respond back, man, they're gonna continue this. But you can,
But you know what though, and Tor, but see, and then that's my thing too, because and I guess because I'm not necessarily on the internet like that for a certain period of time to like, I guess, catch, okay, who made a video this this day or that day saying some outlandish stuff. I only find out, afterwards. And maybe and maybe that was, again, part of my ignorance too. Because again, like I don't waste my time in general worrying about other people unless if, like, again, like these black KKK dudes, especially being in Savannah. I'm like, of course, Savannah, Georgia.
The
Do
South,
I need to explain anything else or say more?
the South is just pretty much just an echo chamber, and just an echo chamber of ignorance. And there's no disrespect to my Southern people, but as far as like light skin and dark skin represent, if we point to one place,
And though, and that's the thing too, because originally I'm from the South, but I moved up to the Pacific Northwest, and and even in the Pacific Northwest, because there's like a lot of Asians and Pacific Islanders that live here. And truth be told, I mean, even though I got, Asian neighbors, not too many of them that I've been around, unless, if it was behind my back or something, they really don't necessarily do the, skin color or light skin. Not saying that it doesn't happen, but I haven't seen it all that
yeah,
much.
from what I've seen, a lot of Pacific Islanders have like they kind of tread on the tanner lines themselves sometimes.
yeah, true. I do see
So,
that too.
in fact, sometimes if you like squinted, you would swear that they were like half black themselves. If you run into the ones that just be like real, like olive tone and all that.
And you know what though, and that was why, again, like and I said this before and I'm gonna say it again, and I appreciate Anon and Ellis Sims really setting the table for us along with others. I feel it's like I look at Dwayne the Rock Johnson, and then part of me even feels bad for him because he's a part of that Pacific Islander, community as well, aside from being half black. And it wouldn't take any of us to look ourselves in the mirror and sort of see a resemblance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I'm like, because again, I guarantee you is that, hey, if we could all just imagine if it was like, because when is that show that Ryan Clark does? Oh yeah, if we had our own version of the pivot and we started interviewing MLS folks and their experiences and all that.
I'm sure you will get a lot of interesting perspectives.
Yeah. And because of the fact that it's like, hey, because because again, even when we try to tell our story, it's either glossed over, um, crying victim, but yet these folks have been crying victim for years, and yet you're still in the same predicament as you was in before. just a bunch of bums. So misery loves company.
Yes, they do.
Oh, well,
They do.
I think I found it.
I don't know. I just feel like more like in my feminine energy with him. I do think sometimes that the light skinned dudes they think that they're cuter than you, and that's not a problem. Like you know, you have confidence, you know that you're pretty, but just all of that X, Y, and Z, like looking in the mirror and doing a story and hey, stop, please.
I feel like darker complexion, they're more in their masculine energy for me in my take on this.
I think it also goes back to like getting deeper. Like men that are darker was in the field. You know what I'm saying? So they were more masculine. And then it's like so we have just been we've been groomed this way to where like the lighter men think that they're they're a little bit prettier. I've dated light skinned dudes before, but I ain't dating now.
I mean, I these women and their perspectives.
You know what though, but you know what? See, and shout outs to light skinned historian. It's like they know that it's like they know what they doing. They're really baking on not only just baking, but just tackling on the playing into their inferiority and insecurities because they gotta be somebody's gotta be center of attention.
Yeah.
But
So if it's not going to be you and it's not going to be me, but yet we're just sacrificial lamb, but yet you have fun at our expense. Enough is enough.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I don't understand is what this over the top thing with saying light skinned men believe they are pretty boys, right? And the thing is, most light skinned men, they just regular dudes. They don't go over the top with the pretty boy stuff.
to be quite honest with you, if I had to look at it from my personal perspective, the amount of gay men I see, I would say that I probably see a gay light skinned dude probably like every once in a blue moon. I just don't see it.
And that's also the thing too, where they want to take as the saying goes, you know how people want to make mountains out of mole hills, or try to make the one minority as the vast majority. Like the moment you do something, it applies to all. I'm like, what is this? Corporal or capital punishment? Yeah. Capital corporal punishment along with capital corporal insults.
But
stereotypically.
But this is where I get confused though. Black women have been the ones who have been probably the vocalists about how they hate when they are stereotyped, but yet they're doing the exact same thing.
Yeah, they don't like it when colorism is being towards them, but they can be colorist towards us. Like, it's just, it's sometimes you just can't take these people seriously, man. Like
but and the thing is too, because they make up the majority of the community anyway. They're the ones in the house raising these children, and children becomes jaded and problematic over something that's so superficial.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, but go ahead.
No, keep going. You can keep going.
Because it's, and then it's like, damn, like, who the fuck nutted up in you to where instead of being mad at them, you turning around and taking your frustrations out on somebody else that you ain't never came across a day in your life, and they were never really a part of your life like that, but because whether it's your circles or you just turn on the TV all day and just think light skin. Like I
But
said, the mental illness is real.
but this goes back to what I alluded to. I don't really know how much these are tough conversations that we need to start having. Like, how much longer are we gonna just sit and put up with this disrespect from black women before we? The way I see it, we only got two options. Either we're gonna have to start calling them out, or we're just gonna have to throw our hands up and just slowly just walk away.
I
Because
mean,
I don't really know what more else we can do at this point.
yeah, I mean, with black women, I mean, I've experienced it myself. You know what I'm saying? With black women, like where they just don't like light skinned men. And look, there's nothing I can do about that. That's their preference, but they don't gotta like try to like beat down on me verbally. But at some point, you know, I had to check a few of them, and then some of them, I'm just like, you know what, just go away, just get out my fucking face. Like that's how it's got to be. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like at some point, you can't take them seriously, and you just gotta leave them alone. And it's like, you know, it's like it also goes back to like the masculinity piece, right? You know, you got a lot of black women, they'll sit there and tell you that, you know, like how we saw in the video, like how the idea of the dark skinned man makes them feel like a woman and he's a man because he has dark skin. But when you ask them separate from that, what makes a man, and he doesn't do that, but yet you're still with this guy who doesn't do what you consider what a man to be, you know what I'm saying? At some point, you gotta look at them like you can't be taken seriously.
Right,
And then
and you know what though, and I'm also glad that you also mentioned that too, because there was a video that I was looking at, and the title of it said eternal, a lot of choices and decisions based on these individuals tend to be internalized racism. I'm like, damn, they hate themselves so much that it's like, damn, they hate themselves so much that they want to accuse everybody else. And like you, when you did that video, Brown and Beige, about breeding, they're worried about us breeding ourselves out, but in reality, they're the ones that's doing it.
in droves, in high
Yeah, in
numbers.
droves, and more so than we are. We just happen to just be standing on gravel or just existing.
And you know, it's funny you guys say that because honestly, I don't know if y'all have noticed, but I'm starting to notice that it seems like a lot of black men have kind of upped up the, like they've been talking about us real greasy a lot lately too. I think what was
Oh,
his name, DC Young Fly. He was talking about light skinned men too. And the ironic thing is, he was married to, rest in peace to her, Miss Jackie O. And it's like that's something else that we're gonna have to, like, we just have problem after problem. It's like
Yeah,
we got these dark skinned black dudes that are with every rainbow colored women under the sun, and
yeah.
they're
They'll
talking
get
bad about
whatever.
us.
I mean, have you walked out your house lately, man? Like, if you just like, you know, if you walked out your house and you go to the shopping malls or any shopping centers, and if you notice, like, yo, I can't remember the last time I saw a black man with an actual black woman.
and you know what though, and even when you do, it's in a very extreme rarity. Like
Yeah,
again,
it's
and I'm sure you guys heard that apparently Klay Thompson and Meg The Stallion are now dating each other. Now, who would have thought that
yes.
that would have been a possibility? Who would?
Yeah, I don't know what's going through his mind with that one, but
And because Clay is just because I mean, yeah, Klay Thompson is, again, hey, one of the best shooting guards that has ever graced the NBA. And he doesn't really cause too much attention to himself like that.
true.
To me,
Like he let his actions show on the court. And that's why he was able, not only just him, but Steph Curry, were able to win back-to-back championships. Now
Well,
you got, but go ahead.
from what I've seen and from what I've heard, I don't think Megan Thee Stallion is what she portrays herself as. I've seen her, and she actually has been to 2 HBCU. I think Megan Thee Stallion is actually just playing a part. I don't even think she actually conducts herself. I think she's just doing it for money. From what I've heard, she actually is like one of them nerdsy type of black women that actually.
And you know what though? Now, of course, then you had, and you know what's funny is that you even had. It's like anytime that any MLS man in general does something, regardless what it is, of course, the hate unfortunately is going to come with it. Like whether you're trending now, but that trend won't last.
You know,
Even with the
reminds me of the '80s talk. Oh my god!
right, just like how even what's going on, hell, even what's still going on, even with the whole. Wait, no, I'm gonna get to that later. Hell, let it be me. Let it be you. Let it be brown and beige.
Yeah.
Oh, we are again. We already the what is it? What they like to call us now? Demons and spiritual wick. I'm like, nah, but that this behavior is spiritual wickedness in high places. But yet y'all love the Bible. Y'all love going to church. But yet the church is ran by who?
Crooks, scammers.
Yeah. Yeah. But yet y'all, but that, yeah. Do I need to say more? Oh, because I'll go down the line.
Yeah, I mean, like that's true. Almost like they put this image on of having a moral compass, right? But almost every time we turn on the news, we're seeing the total opposite of that. You know, like, or I don't know if you watch some of the Manosphere's channels or seen some of their videos, like almost every other pastor turns out to be gay, has a jail record, involved with some type of sexual assault or something, like something crazy. I'm just like, are you people serious? Like at some point we can't take you seriously. You know what I'm saying? Like,
have y'all ever watched the show Greenleaf?
I heard of it, but I don't think I've ever tuned in.
That's basically what that show was about, and it was based on a true story. I think on the pastor in Memphis.
But yeah, but it's like, but again, it's like, but and another thing too is that we MLS people in general is like, you know, it's like we're faced with not only, you know, getting our image and all that is being tarnished, but yet let alone by people who don't have the prettiest track record themselves. And I find that very ironic because I'm like, y'all love poisoning wells. Y'all are poison dwellers.
yeah.
And you get a kick out of it, even if it, and you know, and because they've been in America just as long as we have been, or even in the Western world, or just the world in general. And meanwhile, y'all are still, again, y'all hate white people, but yet y'all have no issues grabbing your teacups with your pinkies in the air. Toast. And I'm like, that motherfucker gonna kill you too. But you didn't hear it from me. You didn't hear that from me. I'm just good old AMR.
Yeah, and then somehow, some way, with all that being said, AMR, somehow, some way, they still come back around the corner and somehow try to degrade our image and bring down our image. You take a sneeze, that's that light skin shit. That's what they like to say. Like,
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, again, like that was that. What was that one comment that Mueller just left? They got it. You know, us being the scapegoat.
Yeah.
And I guess when and that's the thing, is like, you know, the more lies you tell, the more you start to believe it. And it's like, well, they've been telling lies for various centuries, but yet all of a sudden let them tell it is considered the truth.
I've heard from where I'm from, if I told y'all like some of the stories that I've heard from these older light skinned men, it and in a way it kind of it's almost like the universe kind of showing me like what my path needs to be, because I just happen to just be like in the right place at the right time, and I just, even though a lot of people don't even know like who I am, and I'm choosing to keep it that way, it just happens.
Mhm. You
Like
know,
I've heard some crazy stories. Like this stuff has been going on way longer than a lot of us have even been alive.
Yeah. Shoot, I got stories that I haven't even. I mean, I told, you know, just a little bit, but then it's like, even, you know, again, like even what my family members went through. And then it's like when they see us now, it's like, well, how you did, like, it's like, how you not age, or how you not, well, you know, because we're not going to let necessarily imbeciles beat us down to the point to where we get old and yet we don't look, you know, pretty much like everybody else. Like how, you know, how certain uh how flowers age, they wither.
Yeah.
And and so far, you know, I mean, now it's one thing that, you know, there are certain things that was done based on sacrifice, but the universe, you know, again, as y'all put it, um, it has, you know, and again, and I've always been a strong believer of karma too, and karma has a way of collecting on people.
yes, I definitely agree with that one. You know,
And you know, I had even seen, but the crazy thing is, I had seen a video from Charleston White even talking about, and it goes back to what we've been saying. Like he said, I don't even take yellow, you know what, seriously. They got to prove how gangster they are, and it's like he's not the first, and will definitely not be the last one that keeps saying that. And that's what, piggybacking off what you said, Tor. It,
yeah,
that's the black community is basically setting a landmine under our feet. Either you're gonna do this or it's gonna explode. And unfortunately, there's a lot of light skinned men that are stepping on that landmine.
yep. And what happens is like what happened with my uncle. He had to be he had to be out there proving himself, trying to fight, getting stuff involved with gang stuff, and you know what? He ended up in jail multiple times, and then also ended up 6 feet deep. You know what I'm saying? He was one of those light skinned dudes that he didn't have a proper light skinned male father, and you know, he thought being a man was identifying hardcore with blackness and going out there trying to prove himself in the streets, and he paid the price because they took advantage of him being naive. And that's one thing I try to stress sometimes in comment sections about, light skinned men having to fix their image. But first things first, we have to get our minds right, man.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? If we ain't putting each other on game or having real conversations with one another, you know what I'm saying? This stuff is going to continue. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of that could have been prevented if light-skinned men just stop and think about it. Critically think about it, analyze it. You know, like you said, they're putting a landmine right there. Why would they put a landmine there? You know what I'm saying? What are they trying to get you to do?
At the end of the day, there's just a lot of people that are just not out for your best interests. And we understand that on this platform, but there's like millions of us that don't. A lot of these people are not out for your well-being. They're like snakes, wolves in sheep's clothing. They're not here to help us. They're here to destroy us. And going back to what you said, we got to get our minds right, and we need to point out who's actually there to help us and who's against us. Like women like the one that I just showed, we have to know when they say comments like that, with their mindset, you do not in any circumstance procreate with women like this, because that they have that just anger and bitterness. What do you think they're going to? It's just going to pass down through the children.
Yeah. I also say, man, don't be scared to verbally check these people. And if you got to leave the situation, leave the situation. Or if they're coming crazy, chasing you down, tell them to get the hell out of your way. You know what I'm saying? Don't be scared at all as a light skinned man, because you only got one life to live, and it's not worth stressing over these people and dealing with these people. You know what I'm saying? Some of these people just operate in chaos and just want to disturb your peace at whatever cost. You know?
Yeah.
I don't know, how have you guys ever encountered, like, upfront, discrimination because of your light skin as a man? But I have, especially back in my high school days when I was younger. you know, I dealt with that where, like, you know, other dudes coming after me, especially dark skinned dudes coming at me just for the reason, just because I'm light skinned. I've had that too. So I don't know if you guys ever experienced that.
I've actually had a couple of experiences myself. I've actually had a couple of black women that have kind of alluded to what you have said too. Especially like where I'm from, it's just a lot of black people pretty much all in one spot. And if I had a nickel for every time I've heard like comments about light skinned men, we would be here all night. It gets I could tell, all I could say is this: it gets a hell of a lot worse if you put a lot of black people in one spot. Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be the only light skin, and you're going to be one of the first ones that they start clowning first.
Yeah, and if you respond back, they want to hit you with that. Oh, you're being sensitive, and dude.
My advice would be, if you are younger light skinned man, my advice to you would be to get out of these communities that are pretty much just one just particular group by themselves. It's just too problematic. I would even say that for, like, if you're in a place with predominantly white and predominantly black people, like it's just not really an ideal place to be. It's just nothing but problems, and just put yourself in a disadvantage socially and economically.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Mar, are you there, man? Probably stepped away for a moment.
Oh,
But
that's an interesting point, Bronny Miller. PNB Rock, yeah. Both of them were killed.
yeah. I mean, I think the PNB Rock situation was really sad. I think that was because some girl that he was with dropped their location or something like that, and some goons came and ran up on him because of the girl. I think that was the situation. Um, but yeah, that's one of those sad situations. You know, if you're not careful, if you're not being vigilant, you will pay the price. But especially for a guy at his level, as somebody that's famous, yeah, you got to move more um, discreetly.
Nipsey Hussle too. If we want to go there.
Nipsey Hussle, yeah, I think that was he got didn't he caught a bullet outside of his store, right? He had a
Yeah.
store in the middle of you know, one of the hoods in LA, and he caught a bullet.
Sometimes when you got rich, you just gotta when if you ever do get rich, you just gotta know when you gotta just leave that stuff behind. Like I get it, you want to be authentic and true, but at some point it just gets to a point where it's just too dangerous to be around.
Definitely. Like, what's that light skin dude? I remember seeing a interview with him. G Herbo. He's a rapper. He talked about how, you know, he still be in the, rap game and stuff like that, but he had to leave Chicago. He couldn't stay in Chicago. Like, if he would have stayed, he would have probably been killed. You know what I'm saying?
Sometimes you just have to know when it's time to just walk away.
Yeah, and then also know what class of people you're dealing with, man. Like, if you're dealing with low class people who have nothing, or they want what you have, or they think you don't deserve what you have, man, and they feel some type of way, man, they're gonna come get you, man. And you got to be very careful about that. Like, I feel bad for rappers, but at the same time, they chose that lifestyle.
I don't know. I think a lot of the rich, like Snoop Dogg, you'll see him, but they know how to operate. They've been in the game longer, so they know how to operate. Like you won't see them in like the circles like that. They know.
Hey, my bad, y'all. I had to go and take care of a little something.
Oh, you're good, man.
Mhm.
It's all good. Don't worry about it. It's all good.
We're just talking about rappers and
Oh,
Yeah. No, we were just somehow the conversation led to rappers, but yeah.
don't it always for some reason? It's like, first off, um, rappers, they're not necessarily, again, like, and I know people are going to look at me kind of awkward when I say this, but they're not necessarily, they don't necessarily really supposed to represent you like that in terms of doing anything political aside from their occupation.
But for black people, they do.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing, because they can't see past, they can't see past the music.
Yeah. I would say, you know, whether for the black community or just us as MLS men, one of the worst things that's happened to both groups is that, the rap records, the hip hop records, I think that's one of the worst things that's ever happened. And it's just like, I never seen such a generation of people. I don't know if you guys are millennials or Gen Z, but like me, I'm in Gen Z, early Gen Z, but like the amount.
Well, I'm a millennial.
I was born in the late '90s, but like the
Gen
amount
Z.
of people who just don't want to put in any work or learn any type of skill, man, is just sad. Like, everybody I know either wants to trap, or that I went to high school wants to trap. They failed at sports, or they just sell drugs, or like they want to be rappers now. Like, it's just like, Jesus.
and I said this before, that it really does also comes down to, and especially people that you're surrounded by, or just a certain community of people in general, that they believe that that's the blueprint to success for them.
Yeah,
And it's already been proven that you can do more than that, and you try to, but then it's considered a pipe dream until it actually blows up.
Okay.
I mean, otherwise, you would have never really had an Obama. But that's another conversation for another day.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, but
we
go
have
ahead.
Invisible Man here.
Who's
I don't
this?
think I've ever seen you before.
You probably haven't. Hey, AMR, how you doing?
Oh, Snell, what's going on, man?
Also known as Thunder.
Oh,
What's going on,
Long
fellas?
time no see.
I'm telling you, I you know what? I went on YouTube and I saw this discussion. I was like, I haven't seen them up in a long time.
oh, Thunder. My bad. I forgot you. I think I remember.
Yeah. You and I have texted back and forth. It's been a couple years, but we texted back and forth. So, what's going on in our community? I hear you guys talking about and AMR has heard me talk about this, but I hear you guys talking about you getting trashed in the community. And who's the guy up there that no picture? What's it? What's your name?
I'm Tor LA.
How you doing, man?
I think we've been on a stream together before, have we, in the past?
I don't know. I haven't. I don't remember your name, but Tor LA. Are you from LA?
No.
Oh,
It's just an initial. But I'm from the Northeast. I'm from NYC.
all right. Well, I'm probably your uncle's and your father's age, and during that time we grew up. I don't know. You guys sometimes it seems like you grew up in the suburbs, and when you grew up in the city, back when your parents were our age, we had to hold our own, right? So, with me, I never acted, I never tried to be somebody I wasn't. Now, when it comes to talking a certain way, my mother said, she said, I have never heard somebody with a worse mouth in my life. But that was sort of the bravado that you had to carry. Now, I wasn't going, and like Tor LA, I mean, I know plenty of guys like your uncles and your father. I mean, it wasn't that I ran in that circle, but
Yeah.
I tell my daughter that I was in the entertainment industry.
Mhm.
And back in the 70s, entertainment industry meant that we were throwing parties, hiring musicians, DJs to play our gigs. And, so when you're throwing parties for hundreds of people, there are people that want to get next to you for business, which meant that, I knew all the players. Whatever genre of player you want to talk to, the hoods, the drug dealers, the pimps, the players, all of them, because they were all there, and you get mixed up in that crowd. And for me, I came from a large family, and I had an older brother, so I had kind of a cushion where I didn't have to go out and prove myself, where I didn't have to always talk a certain way. But when you get stepped to, you have to be able to hold your own, right? And it was that's just the way I grew up. Now my nephews, none of them grew up in the city, and it's so it's certain ways you now have to conduct yourself growing up in the suburb. And then once you get to the professional ranks, you have to some of that street stuff carries over, and you have to be sly. You have to be real careful as to how you confront these guys in the corporate sector. I mean, you say stuff to them where it's your word against theirs, right? But you put them in their place, and that way they know where you're coming from, and you can kind of negotiate it that way. Uh, and you said, like you said, you wanted to befriend guys that are like that work in your company. I mean, the only thing I would do initially in that sense is give them a wink and a nod, let them know, hey, I'm here, not just come out and say, hey, let's go get a drink, not until I build up a certain rapport with them.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you. That was the idea, like, when I was working in corporate, what I'm saying, I still do, but when I see other light-skinned men, which is very rare, it's very rare to see us in those settings, some of them I make it my business to approach them, introduce myself, get to know them, build a rapport with them. And some of them, are receptive, and other ones, are not so much, what I'm saying? So,
The
it's
corporate world is just like the streets. To me, I mean, you grew up playing the game. It's like playing athletics, and it's like just any other social dynamic that you have to negotiate. And all light-skinned people, I mean, as I said, my nephews grew up in the suburbs, right? My brother and I had this issue one time. The same brother I'm going to give you two examples about. But my daughter went to a private school, and he came at me and said, "Oh, you sending your daughter to that private school? Blah blah blah. She won't do X, Y, and Z." I said, "Yeah, and your son is out here in the suburbs. I dare you to put him in the neighborhood school where we grew up and watch him, see if he can survive. He wouldn't last a minute." And he's a dark to medium brown skin young man, and who just had a suburban flavor to him, wouldn't survive a minute in a tough urban setting, right? So sure, and that goes to the point of your uncles having to keep up a persona. It's unfortunate that they had to do that. And before I say something about that, let me say something about this same brother who went to an HBCU, and he was in college at the time, and I had finished both my undergrad, grad, and he came to me and he said, am I supposed to be going out with a dark-skinned girl? I was like, where the hell did that come from? Are you supposed to be going out with, you go out with who you like? And so he went to a HBCU in Florida, right?
Yeah.
And they said, man, they're on me telling me I got to go out with the dark-skinned girl. The dark-skinned guys got to go out with the light-skinned, and the light-skinned guys have to go out with the dark-skinned. That's bullshit. I said, you like who you like, right? There's you don't need to go out with this type, that type, or the other. I mean, if she's fine, she's fine. That's the only thing that counts to me. If she's fine, she's fine. And but that was something that he was in the South. Now I'm from Detroit, so he was in Florida somewhere. I can't remember the name of the town, but that's how they thought. And he eventually married the girl that they were trying to stop him from going out with, and they've got 3 kids, and then the son that he had prior to the son that I just described, who he raised. But light-skinned guys growing up, and I grew up I started high school in 1971. And being in a big city with a large Black population, and Detroit probably was the first chocolate city other people might argue with me, but Detroit was the first city with the considered the chocolate city with the largest black population. When you walked around that city, and I suspect walking around New York, AMR, you and I have talked. I think, aren't you from Texas or Louisiana, or you got family in Louisiana?
I got family in Louisiana, but I'm originally from Texas.
Right. So when you're around that kind of, especially in the north and in the east, and you have to negotiate that spaces. If you don't have a reputation, you're gonna get deleted. To use a common term now, you don't stand a chance. I mean, because you just walk down the street, and somebody's gonna come out and say, "What are you doing in our neighborhood?" AMR has heard me say this. What are you doing in my neighborhood, white boy? And for me, I'm just quick with my hands. So I'm not. If you approach me like that, then I'm swinging. And so I'm not waiting for anything else because you got malice in your heart. So if you got malice in your heart, I have no other choice than to protect myself. And so, there was just your fathers, your uncles really didn't have a choice. Now, when it comes down to the rah-rah black, I didn't necessarily play it that way, but that's the way your uncles had to play it. Now things are different, and I'm not really up on how people deal with it now. Growing up and negotiating those issues, like you said, Tori LA, you had to deal with that in school sometimes. But I just don't know how you guys deal with it. And I'm just lost at the fact that you're soft. You're considered soft. There were so many of us in Detroit. It was ridiculous. There was a guy on this. I go on this other searching for Uru, and it's an interesting panel because he got Africans up there and everything. But anyway, this one guy said something about, "Are you Smokey Robinson types? The Smokey Robinson types are the enemy." I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? And he's living in England, an African living in England, telling foundational black Americans and others that your enemy are those Smokey Robinson types.
You
right?
see a lot of that nowadays.
And the Smokey Robinson types were the players, were the cool guys. We had a saying, we're lovers, not fighters, but don't take that the wrong way, right? And so the Smokey Robinson types, we didn't get that. We didn't get that soft, that soft moniker like you guys are getting hit with now. So how do you change it? And that's what you guys are talking about. So how do you change it? How do you think you should change it?
Well, it's a pretty tough.
Go ahead, Brian Page. It's your show. You start first.
Well, I think it's a pretty tough change, honestly. But I think for starters, it just all boils down to respect. I think a lot of people kind of get it nowadays. Kind of like you asked, like how there's a lot of light-skinned men are kind of more docile with it nowadays. But I think, like you said, we're gonna have to show our teeth a little bit more down the line.
But that's hard to do in today's world, unless you're growing up in the city, in a hardcore setting. And that's where it gets back to, now you got to be blacker than black. But you're growing up in the suburbs. So you got the Drake effect. I wish Drake had come back and done one more on Kendrick Lamar. He should have just popped him with one more. He didn't have it in him. I didn't understand that. I wanted him to come back after the Not Like Us.
Well,
and hit him one more time.
I think in Drake's case, I think Drake he kind of got socially bullied into not doing enough.
But see, that's the thing, socially bullying. I mean, and that's the thing with what's going on right now. Everybody can hide behind the screen, and they yap 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 yap, and so you never see anybody face to face. And no matter how hard you sound on YouTube, you never get to prove your point. So it's more of them, obviously. I mean, the population of light-skinned people, mixed people, biracial people, that kind of thing, it's not that big. So you're gonna get drowned out. That's why I popped up here, because it's been a while since I've seen you guys up here, and so when he gets socially bullied, the only thing you have to fight back is social media. And look here, this is my thing. One of the things I would have told Kendrick Lamar and all these other Playboy gangsters. You know what a gang is? It's a group of guys, right? And to me, gangsters were always punk. They were weak, without backup, without their gang, right? I mean, they're shit talkers. Why do you need Crips and Bloods? Why do you need, in my era, the Flynns and the BKs? I don't know what the gangs are around anywhere else, but my father was a principal of one of the largest high schools in Detroit, two biggest gang populations. Father had a hit out on him practically every week during the huge gang era in Detroit, BK's, Earl Flynn's, and they numbered in like I think 400, almost 500 in one gang, about almost 800 in another gang, right? And so when you get kicked out of a school, you get sent to other high schools around the city. And there were only 22 high schools in Detroit at the time. And we were all busting at the seams. So in Detroit, my high school had about 6,000 students in it. And we were not the biggest. Where my father was, it was about the same. So anyway, this guy, my father kicked this guy out, and he got sent to the high school I was in. And so this guy, I'd been told, watch out for this guy because he's here and he's looking for me. And so he waited one day. I'd never met him, right? And he waited for me one time. And he said, I was late closing my locker, and he was late, which wound up, we're the only two practically walking down the hallway. And he comes up next to me, and I'm really trying to hurry before the teacher closes the door on me. And he says, your old man kicked me out of school. I said, oh, really? I said, okay. And so I said, look, man, I got to go. And he said, I'm going to kick your ass. I said, you just wait. We're going to get you. And I stopped and I turned, motherfucker, this is your chance right now. I said, the reason your weak ass got kicked out is because you're a punk, right? And you got caught. And you're a punk now. Either we're going to get down right now, or you crawl on back to that East Side neighborhood where you came from, right? I mean, gangsters need gangs. They need people to back them up, right? So to me, all these guys, these hip hop guys, half of them, like I've heard, I don't know, but half of them have never done dirt in their life. The other half they need an entourage behind them. And me and my partners, we were partners. And when it came time to get down, then sure, we had each other's back, but we never needed each other's back, right? Gangsters always act in the defined meaning of a gang. They will attack you like rabid dogs because they need 2, 3, 4 of them to get at you. And that's how weak they are. So if I were Drake, I'd have come at Kendrick Lamar and called this shit out. I'll be honest with you, because that shit just doesn't. It just never scared me. And trust me, I've been in situations where I had to confront. That wasn't the only time I had to confront those gangs in Detroit growing up. I had to confront them on a number of times, right? But they're weak to me. And so if you want to socially get at some of these guys that are on here, you can just call them out at their weak point. Nobody really looks at gangs like that. Nobody looks at them as being, you need to have your posse behind you to get your strength, right? All you guys, I mean, all of us, all my light brights, we could hold our own. We didn't have to worry about a gang. And so I think that's one of the ways socially, you just have to find a way of getting back at them and kind of pull up a what do you call it? A talking point that gets to break them down.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. As a light-skinned dude, I don't know how it was for you, Brown and Beige or AMR back in your school days, but you know what I'm saying? Like, as the gentleman who just explained, he had his run-ins just as well as I have, and these are things that us as light-skinned men have to deal with. You know what I'm saying? We're a minority within a minority. We can't forget that. And with that, we're the scapegoats, and you're gonna have to hold your own at some point. Doesn't matter whether you're just in the city or whether you're in the suburbs. You're gonna have to hold your own and navigate the world at some point. But
I'll go ahead and give an explanation. How I came up, I went through, so many drastic changes in the sense of, how I started out, how I okay, let's say I'm gonna say from maybe, because I barely remember how it was for me in the first or second grade, but I know in the third through the fifth grade, I was very chubby. So of course, all the FAT jokes, the weight jokes are gonna come back to back to back. That's just the cruel world that we live in. But then I lost weight, moved to the sixth grade. Now all of a sudden we gotta question your sexuality now.
really,
Then say that again.
they really did that to you, man?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Crap.
And then when I moved up here to the and again it was so bad to the point to where it I kind of had, a little bit of PTSD from it to the point to where I had to go see therapy.
Wow.
Even though I had moved up north, and now up north really wasn't that bad for me. It wasn't. But I could just remember just walking down the halls and just seeing, what I went through, all the tormenting, and whether I was gonna get tripped or something while I was walking down the halls, or I was gonna get somehow degraded in which a way. But then, like I said, fortunately for me, I came across, something that I wasn't really used to seeing in the abundance that it was in, because again, like, yes, you have your interracial.
So AMR was that when you were in a white setting now? when you moved up north?
Yes.
And were those white kids that were doing that to you?
No, these were well, when I moved up here, no, but they did do that. They would join in with the black kids when I was down south, helping with the ridiculing. And I'm like, and then that kind of, and I was in a delusional world thinking like, yo, I thought we was all, and I would look at the brother. I'm like, yo, I thought you were supposed to be helping me. But then it's like, I got a harsh slap of reality.
That reality continues, and I think that's what where and when you get into the corporate world, it's sort of like the black guy is going to go to the white boss and tell him, well, he can't represent us. He's not black enough. He's not really, you need somebody dark, right? And so the corporate world is looking for somebody visibly dark in order to represent their position on hiring, that kind of thing. But I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
But then it was just like a lot of tormenting that I went through when I was living in the South versus when I moved up to the Pacific Northwest. Like I said, I had to get there. Like I said, I had to go to therapy because of the tormenting that I went through. And I didn't want to look at people, couldn't really carry on a full conversation if I wanted to. Even if somebody was like looking and staring at me, staring me in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And I was,
would you stare back at them? Would you give them a hard stare?
What's that?
Would you give them a hard stare back?
In a way, but then all of a sudden, when I do, they turn around, be like, "The fuck you looking at?" I'm like, "You were looking at me."
Right.
And then all of a sudden, more ridicule came, and I didn't know. It's like, if you guys are gonna punch me in the face or just hit me, I'm like, just do it already. Damn.
Okay, so you were. See, I was taught to box. My father taught me how to box at a young, when I was like 5, when all the boys just giving the gloves. First, it was like, go at it, put you in the basement, don't break anything. And, the gloves wouldn't leave people bloody and that kind of thing. But it was my mother that taught me how to really fight, street fight. Told me about how to conduct myself on the street, because boxing is one thing. Street fighting is totally different. You can be a karate expert and all this, but you'll get your ass kicked in the street, no doubt. And
right.
So, and that's where you go back to my man's statement about his uncles. Where, if a guy came up to me and he said, "What you looking at?" then my response is, excuse the what I'm about to say. "I'm looking at you, motherfucker. What's the problem?" I mean, because I didn't start this, right? So it's that's the way of the street. That's the way of the corporate world. That's the way life is. And I taught my daughter that, right? And I said, you got to give it back to them verbally, whatever it is. The jabs are gonna, whether it's physical, psychological, verbally, whatever it is, you got to give it back to them. And I think that, to me, is, and let me say this before, you talked about how you had PTSD, you said something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I had to deal with that. I had to deal with that in the case. I had finished undergrad. I hadn't been living in the city for a long time. I got stuck up at gunpoint. And but I took the gun from the guy. I beat him up and shoved the pistol down his throat. And the guy that was running the gang, I didn't kill him. I didn't shoot him. The guy that was running the gang, it was a whole different setup from when I left the city, because the hoodlums used to stand on the street outside the party store. So you knew not to stop there if you wanted to pick up a 40 or whatever you're going to drink on a Friday night. I got back to the city. I hadn't been living in the city for a long time, and I was going to hang out with my partners. And so I said, let me run in here and get a 6-pack. So I'm running in to get a 6-pack. And I'm going to the store. I'm like, oh, shit. All of them are inside. I'm like, oh, shit, it's my turn. And I'm looking at this guy, and I know him from growing up. I hadn't seen him since junior high or elementary school, because he kind of dropped out, right? But he was always a problem. Now, he and I had gotten into it, so he would never mess with me, right? But I just couldn't remember his name. So when I go over to the cooler and I take the 6-pack out and I go to pay, like there were like 11 guys in there. About half of them walked out, and I was like, oh, God damn. So now I go out to the car and I'm putting the key in the door, and a guy comes up to me. The guy comes up to me, puts the gun in my head. He says, it's your turn. Look, I'm outnumbered 1 to 11. By that time, when I walked out, the rest of the gang walked out, right? And so I looked to my right, and the guy had the gun right in the back of my ear on my temple, or in the back of my head. The other guy looked to my left. I said, damn, that's so-and-so's brother. I taught his brother how to play basketball. And so then I'm not going to fight with him at that point, because I don't know who the guy on my right is, right? And I'm still trying to figure out this guy's name that I went to elementary school and junior high with. And it just isn't working. I only had $2 in my pocket. So I'm like, fuck it there. A car comes slow rolling down 7 Mile, and all of them break. They run for cover. I haven't been in the city during that time, so I don't even know what's going on. I didn't know that drive-bys were starting to happen then, right? So they bolt, and so at that point, I go back to my car, and I'm trying to open the door, and the guy with the gun had only ran to a doorway where he could take cover, which was about 20 feet from where I was. And so he came back out, and he was like, where the fuck do you think you're going? I said, shit, everybody else is getting out of here. I'm going to go too. He said, no, step over here. So I stepped over toward the building because it was wasn't a side street, but then he told me, he said, no, come back here in the alley. I said, fuck that. You're going to shoot me. You shoot me right here. And I turned around, and at that point, your mind is racing 100 miles a minute. Adrenaline is pumping. I've always been athletic, always worked out, all that kind of thing. And I was probably the strongest I had ever been at that point. And so I knew when he put that gun to my head again, I had already known what he was going to do. I knew, because your mind, I don't know what it is, but he put the gun back to the same spot, right? And I said, the minute I feel that the pistol in the back of my head, that's when he's going to let up and think he's got me, right? I'm going to have to give him a backhand, right? I had the beer in my right hand. I backhanded him. There was so much adrenaline in it. The guy flew like 5 feet, right? Because at that point, anybody tells you come to the alley, they're going to shoot you, right?
Yep.
And so at that point, we struggled for the gun. I wrapped my finger around his finger. I shoved the barrel in his mouth. The lady from behind the party store came out. No, you didn't mean it. Don't shoot him. It took my mind off of everything. I'm glad she took my mind off of things, because I was pulling the trigger. And so as he rolled me off of him, the gun got loose, right? And he started to run. and I started to run after him. I took like two or three steps to run after him because he bolted, right? And so I looked at the guys on the wall. It was still about 7 or 8 of them who had come back from around the alley. And I finally remembered the guy's name that I had gone to junior high, elementary and junior high with, because I knew it was a name like a girl and a guy named like Stacy. What was this guy's name? Kelly. His name was Kelly, I think. And so I said, Kelly, where'd that motherfucker go? And he called me by my name. I said, yeah, motherfucker, it's me. And he said, oh, shit. And he told everybody we messed with the wrong dude, man. And I said, you goddamn straight. And so I grabbed the gun, and then all his boys started coming at me. Oh, he didn't mean it. He didn't mean it. I said, that's bullshit. You know, the code of the street, you know, you never put a gun to a guy's head unless you're going to use it. And so what I'm saying to you, AMR, is that stuck with me, man. I had to deal with that because what the guy said to me, what the guy that I had gone to school said, he said, we thought you were a white boy, right? And I knew I'd been gone for so long that people didn't know me in the neighborhood anymore. So I had to internally deal with that, but I still carried the same bravado with me. I understand that these kind of things are traumatic experiences sometimes, but you got it. And I know you've gotten over it because I've heard you talk about that over and over, but to the people that still deal with that, still having to deal with these experiences of having, you know, being called, pushed, shoved, beat up, that kind of thing. You got to get over it. Easier said than done, because it took me a long time as well. I didn't go to a psychiatrist or anything like that. I did talk to a friend, right? I had on my street, 2 girls became psychiatrists. So I was able to talk to my friends. And maybe that was an issue I was dealing with. I don't know. But that did, and it sticks with me to this day. And that's one reason that I'm like, well, you know, we need to get our own category. And AMR, when I first got on here, you were the first person that I did a live with. And back then, we were talking about getting a category. It's kind of, I don't hear anybody. I really don't see that old crew on here anymore. But I think especially the guys, the girls are going to get over doing what they're doing. They'll have their issues, but they're still going to be able to maneuver. Guys, this is a little bit different. It's a little bit trickier. And I know I'm pretty boisterous about actors and playing roles and that kind of thing. So with these characters getting up there talking about light-skinned men taking all the roles, that's bullshit. You know,
and that's where, you know, again, unfortunately, that's where it's taking the turn. This so-called false, how can I put it? False message, false messaging, as well as being dishonest, and then they just kept growing and growing and growing, and that was why I mentioned, you know, the mental diagnosis going undiagnosed for so long, especially within that community or even the individual themselves who has the microphone and is speaking on it. And I'm like, I can't believe that this is how you spend most of your time worrying about a group of people who could very well, you know, could care less about you and don't even know you exist until you show your face and you start talking.
Right.
Because again, they already have their warped sense of how they see and look at the world. I mean, now don't get me wrong. Yes, the world is very cruel. very, very cruel. But if you're honestly are gonna, sit there and try to deter whether or not you believe light skinned men taking all the roles,
They're
I'm
warped.
like, well, yeah, it's very warped. I'm like, are you upset because you didn't get picked? Because if that's the case, what does that say about you, sir or ma'am?
Did I miss it, or were there any light skinned people in Wakanda or whatever that Black Panther?
Nah, no, Black Panther. Nah, I don't think there was not. I don't think you even had one.
Okay, my point, right? My
Mhm.
point.
Either.
What would you say? What other movie?
Sinners.
Oh, I haven't seen Sinners.
Sinners either.
Yeah, me either.
I saw the talk about the
Uh-huh.
the girl who was the girl nobody knew was black or had African. Let me put it like this. I, I saw the hoopla going about the girl who had African ancestry.
Oh, Haley Steinfeld.
I guess that's her name.
And I'm like, well, she's engaged. She's engaged to a white quarterback who plays for the Buffalo Bills.
Okay. Good for her. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
exactly. And it's like, but again, and it really goes to show you and display the differences between how we look at things versus how they look at things. It's like we're not necessarily hating on the fact. It's like, hey, you go wherever or do whatever makes you happy.
right.
But however, don't necessarily lose sight if certain things happen.
Right.
You don't, you can't be too comfortable to where you didn't see it coming.
Yeah, true. She got a bit of a pronouncement when they came after her after the movie. Like I said, I haven't seen the movie, but anybody that looks like my daughter, I have sympathy for them, and so you know, um, I just think this black actor thing is a warped sense of reality, because you and I have been on panels where we've talked about this before, right? Malcolm X, uh, who else? Um, there was another movie.
Huey P. Newton and
All of them,
yeah.
all the movies, they never show them in their proper a proper representation.
Yep, and that was what we
No.
were talking about,
True.
and that's what we were talking about earlier about how everything has changed from what was deemed as positive, which unfortunately has transitioned over to what would be considered negative.
Mm-hmm.
And because again, like, and should I put this out there and I can get crucified later,
Mm-hmm.
but again, if depending on how sick and demonic they are, they would take a full body image of Malcolm X and actually put him in a dress wearing makeup and a wig.
Well, I've heard on a lot. I don't tend to be on YouTube a lot because I'm so busy doing some other stuff now. But before I was listening to it a couple years back, and they did. I mean, people are saying I've heard people say, well, Malcolm X couldn't really be black. He was mixed or something like that. So if you're going to say
Yeah,
that about Malcolm, and you're going to say that about Huey P. Newton, and you're going to say that about everybody else, then you don't have a Black Power movement. You don't have a civil rights movement,
I think
because without those people, it's just it's only a handful of people, right?
Because I would say that a good majority of the Black Power movements were light skinned people, light
Right,
skinned black people, or light skinned mixed biracial people. I mean, we were the main ones at the forefront back in those days.
right.
well nowadays people say it's because they were adjacent to white people nowadays. They're discrediting them now.
Yeah, but they're always coming up with an excuse. Well, if that's the case, where your representation, the people you say should have been there? I mean, what kept you from being there?
Exactly. And then when you get people like, let's say, like the Kwame Browns of the world, the
Yeah.
renowned former basketball player talking about, oh, y'all some light skin, I'm
Oh, he
like, yeah,
came
I'm
out the
like,
gate. He came out the gate talking that stuff.
yeah,
And
and
I
it's
like
like, and it's like, look, I'm like, look, just because you weren't really that good at your profession, and now using that as a guise to where under the guise of you assaulting people who basically criticized your game
hmm
because they were trying to see the potential in you, even though you really didn't see. I'm like, yeah, you played 13 seasons. Yeah, you did all of this. You made your money. But it's very unfortunate that you made much noise being on social media than what you did from the career that you once had.
hmm
Nobody's calling you to commentary a game. Nobody is calling you to be a coach or an executive. So this is where you are now.
So with Kwame Brown, when he first came out, I was loving his podcast, his YouTube channel. And then he said you light skin. Oh, he went off on a player.
Matt Barnes.
Uh,
Oh, Matt Barnes.
yeah, I think it was Matt Barnes, and he started talking about yellow light skin. We used to beat up light skinned guys, and he's from South Carolina. So I'd go down to South Carolina a lot because both my parents are from South Carolina. So we'd go down there in the summer. I didn't spend a lot of time, but every other summer for a week. And we beat you light skinned guys up. I mean, I never experienced that down there when I was in the country. Down there with them. But I'm from Detroit. I sent him a message when he first got started. I said, "Hey, motherfucker, I'm in Detroit. You played in Detroit." He was making some commentary about Detroit guys don't play. I said, "You damn straight. So bring your big ass up to Detroit. We'll show you what's going on." And so, 'cause, I hate guys. I hate guys. Do I need to say that again? I hate motherfuckers that talk about them light skinned guys. Come on. Every single one
And
of
then
them.
and then and then and then, and then I'm not sure who it was that said. I think it may have been Brown Beige. Like, yo, don't be surprised if what he's saying, he ain't got one behind the scenes that we don't
Yeah,
know about. I'm
right,
like,
right.
that's always been the gist.
Yeah.
These dudes, they talk about a certain group of men, but yet will turn around and have the exact same woman of their particular group that they despise. I mean,
Not
same thing
one
even with
person ever stepped to me talking that nonsense. Not one. If somebody I didn't know, the guys would tip him off, say, "Don't call him out his name. You call him out his name, we're not going to help you." And so for me, and like Tor LA's talking about his uncles, look, we got called out our names, and that was a front. And if you didn't step up to the plate to handle that, then you are going to get and you are going to get bullied. A bully is you punch a bully, and I don't know if you've ever noticed, but they become your friends
Yeah,
every time.
I notice how the tide always shifts after all the tormenting they doing, but when they get it back in the ways that they wasn't expecting it, they'll either come back for more or have no choice but to say, all right, you got me. I'll take the L.
They don't know how to handle it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just physically; it's also verbally too.
Oh, yep.
I feel like that's
It's
where
like,
the
okay, so you could so yeah, if it ain't physical, then it'll turn into verbal.
Okay, so
And
somebody
it's
says
unfortunate
Aaron
because
Pierre is going to play the new Black Panther. Oh, is that what people are upset about? So he's going to be the new Black Panther. Is that what the deal is?
Ever since Aaron Pierre came out, like, he had a lot of hype around him from a lot of women, and then there was this whole thing going on that he's a light skinned dude, he shouldn't be getting this type of attention, and you saw this mainly coming from dark skinned men.
Right.
You know, he just
The brother's handsome. The brother's handsome. I looked him up. Brother's handsome. He's 6'3", right? So a tall brother that looks like that has an athletic build. Come on. They're
Yeah,
gonna
I mean,
be
he's-
jealous.
Yeah,
he's
and
got
not
a-
only that, he also goes into the same category that Dwayne Johnson also goes
Right.
in as well, despite him being a former college football player and professional wrestler turned actor.
Oh,
And
did
like
he?
I was
I
saying
didn't know
earlier,
that about. Okay.
yup. Oh yeah, by Dwayne Johnson, absolutely.
I know Dwayne Johnson. Yeah. Yeah. He was a
Oh,
professional.
oh yeah, hey, Kenneth Stewart, I remember that. And Charles Oakley is the last person you would want to ever. Back then, you didn't want to step to him. You didn't.
I think
Yeah.
Michael Jordan and Kwame were teammates at Washington too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and
Right.
because Kwame was supposed to have been the face of the Wizards, but because he didn't live up to the expectation, Michael Jordan took that spot away from him. Lost his name to Michael Jordan,
Well,
and also
he
Gilbert
kind of got. He
Arenas.
kind of now. You talk about from what I have heard, but Kwame Brown will dispute that. I've seen him dispute it with what's that guy's name? He has a podcast. He was on the team, the Bullets, with Jordan and Brown at the same time, but he was a star player. Um, dang, um, he played for Arizona too, from California. But you know, Kwame Brown got bullied. Kwame Brown was like 16, 17. I mean, not 16, 17 or 18. I don't think he was older than 18 when he got into the league. And, you know, for somebody who, here's where you have to be able to hold your own, and you have to be able to talk that shit amongst those players, right? Because if he was so tough, like he said, then he would not have backed down to Michael Jordan. I don't care how good Michael Jordan was at that point, right? You're trying to hold your own. Sure, there's some fear in there, and it's a whole different dynamic. I get that, but still, at some point, you're gonna have to give it back to your teammate, and you're gonna have to look at Michael Jordan as a teammate. I'm not taking. Nobody can take anything away that the guy was the best. To me, he's the best that ever did it. So okay, I'm going to give you your kudos, but don't step to me like that. Don't disrespect me like that. You know, and that's where, you know, he's out here now saying he's done. You know, Gilbert Arenas was the other guy that tells the stories
Yeah,
about.
yeah, Gilbert Arenas.
But if you were in that position, man, you should. When I went to high school, I played little league football, and so I went to high school early. I was 4 feet 10 inches tall. I weighed 93 pounds. And I started. The guys that went to high school with me got to try out and made it for the junior varsity. Coach wouldn't even let me try out. He said, "You're not even 100 pounds with pads on." But me and my little ass was running around school saying I was going to be a linebacker and captain. I'm 13 years old, and so you tend to have friends that are in the same size group that you are. So me and my little friends are running, playing around tag. And I happened to run, and school had been in session probably about what, maybe 3 weeks or something. Tryouts are going to start. And I'm mouthing off saying that I'm going to be, you know, the starting linebacker and blah, blah. And I run straight into this guy that's like 6'3", 200 solid sometimes, right? And he said, "Hey, I hear you've been looking for me." I'm like, "Maybe." And so I never look up to him. I'm looking at him in his, right about his chest or so, you know, and I never look up to him, right? And I said, "Maybe, who are you?" And he said, "Well, I'm the middle linebacker and the captain of the football team." And I said, "I might just have to take your job." And He said, what? So he's flanked by two other varsity starting players, right? And the guy says, he says, oh, I like you. And he starts to, he moves his hand to pat me because he's that big, right? So his hand's he's going to pat me on my head, right? And I pushed his hand away. I said, don't touch me. I'm going to have to fuck you up. he said, oh, we really like you now. He said, we really like you now. Guess what? I was best friends with all the athletes from that point on, right? Because at some point, no matter whether you're a scrub, and I wasn't even a scrub because I never got on the team, right? I didn't even get a tryout, right? But at some point, you're going to have to hold your own in a situation like that. And now Kwame's talking about, oh, I was this, that, and the other. But you need to let Michael know where you stood. You need to let Jordan know where you stood. Okay, I'm the rookie. I'm the young boy. But don't fuck with me, right? I mean, and that's what I said to my daughter. I said to my nephews, you look like this, you're going to get teased. You got to bloody a guy's nose, right? I mean, if you do that, then your problems will go away, right? Because they know not to mess with you anymore. And Kwame Brown is a big mouth. That's how I see him, a 6'11" big mouth. And we have to teach our boys to handle. We have to teach our boys, especially our boys. I don't know, man. If I had a son, I think he would have been kicked out, been in reform school or something.
And you know what though, and that's the thing too. And it's like, and then society likes to do this whole, I guess, sizing everything up, thinking that it's got them brolic to the point to where, like, nah, an average person may not mess with you, but somebody that keeps getting tired of your shit ain't gonna give a fuck about how you built or how tall you are, how big you are. You know, that's just it is. That's just humanity kicking in at its finest. So when you get to biting and you get bit back, even worse, to where you have no more or meat on your body, don't come to me complaining.
Right.
And
then the scariest guy.
And another thing.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, and that was pretty much what I had to say on that. But also, I also want to ask y'all this: it's now gotten to the point to where non-black people have now jumped on the "I hate light-skinned men" trend, and I'm like, we know where y'all getting that from. Y'all just didn't think of this, you know. Y'all just didn't think of this right away.
So where's that coming from?
I think that's coming from the community. Certain people in the community that's leading the charge.
So certainly, I don't doubt that. But now they're leading the charge. But who's saying? White men, white women, Hispanics? Who's saying that?
Well, of course, you know, Hispanics and some white people.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, there was a video light-skinned historian did where it was this Hispanic woman coming out of California on Twitter, who was talking shit about Drake, saying, leave it up to light-skinned, you know, Canadians to have hip-hop in the position that it's in. I'm like, what? He won awards. He was the most popular ever outselling rapper you could think of. Whether you like him or not, I'm just stating facts here.
Definitely. And he's not making music where it's like, you know, he's rapping about killing people all the damn time.
Exactly.
It's like, where are you going with this? Like,
right.
It's like, I don't know, the lack of common sense with a lot of people and the trend following is just, it's absurd. It's just ridiculous.
It just sounds like somebody put the battery in her back.
And it's just like, you know, this is what I was saying earlier. Like, you know, for any of you light-skinned man that's on this panel or that's listening out there or in the comment section, man, do not be scared to call these people out. Do not be scared to check these people, man. It's just,
Right.
It's getting way out of hand. Like, and if something goes down, hopefully it don't end up with you 6 feet below or behind bars. But these things have to be checked now. We're at the point where it has to be checked. It has to be confronted, addressed.
Right. And you know
Whatever.
what though, and on top of that though, but here's the plot twist though. She ended up getting some backlash on her page. And I'm like,
From who though?
apparently black men did. And then I'm like, okay, well, see, here's the thing. And this is like a double, to me, it's a double whammy. Where either you're being sincere or you don't want other people to know the difference. And because if other people know the difference, then they're immediately are gonna cast a separation.
It's not sincere. I think
I mean, we all know.
because
Black
it's
men
like
will
because
do
it's like black
anything.
men and black women want us to themselves. Whether you insult them, whether you spit on them, whether you kick them, do whatever, they're our own punching bags. Don't touch our punching bag. I'm like, well, you guys are looking for this victimhood sympathy con any way you can get it, wherever. It's like, so you're hypocrites and and your double standards are being shown to the masses, but people don't want to accept it. They don't want to cope with it or come to the reality. It's like, nah, they're not doing it because they care. Nah, they're just doing it because they want to. Like, you can abuse a dog, but then when people show sympathy and empathy for that dog, and it's like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. It's my dog. I could do whatever I want. And I'm like, well, y'all didn't have that energy for white people every time they insult you, but yet you expect help.
Hmm.
And we're dumb enough to follow the and we're just dumb enough to go along with it up until we see it for what it really is. It's like, you don't want you get it's like you can do it, but nobody else can. Like, nah, don't be biased. Like, do that with everyone, including yourselves.
they're not.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it just all boils down to the fact that what they really don't want, they don't want like a distinction be made. Truth be told, a lot of people, like Tori said, they thrive on chaos. Like they want everything to just be under one umbrella because they benefit from it. Like, why would you want to stop something that you're benefiting from?
Yeah, they're exploiting loopholes and opportunities. And with the black community in the state that it's in, with the amount of chaos that's going on, nobody's really going to be held accountable, and everybody can go practically do their own thing. And, with that in mind, as light skinned men, we have to sit there and question, like, with us trying to rebuild our image, is it really worth rebuilding your image and then trying to help a group of people who tear down your image? Is it really worth it? Is it can something be done to where we build something for our own?
Well, that's when I first started listening on YouTube and I came across this group, and like I said, the first person that I got up on their video with was AMR. So that had to have been, I don't know, 4 years ago, 5 years
Yeah,
ago.
about 4 or 5 years ago.
That's what everybody was talking about, trying to get a category, trying to get the census category back, and the discussion broke down to into terminology, that kind of thing. But
I'm gonna step away for a moment.
what's kind of interesting to me is that now it's I mean, one of the things that I saw is it was so fractured. I mean, there were I started hearing the biracials come out talking about whether their mother was black or white, and I'm like, what? What does that have to do with the price of eggs? I mean, it's got nothing to.
Well, I think
Whether
that was kind of pushed by a couple of problematic individuals that we won't name.
I never
I
understood
think
that.
the problem with a lot of spaces like this is it can get easily hijacked.
And then, I look at it. Anybody that is a light skinned person that wants to create a category of other light individuals, then that's what we need to be going for. It was colored and it was mulatto back in 1850 when that category first came on. And it was it wasn't until the 1920s, 70 years later, that was eliminated. And my thought is that, look, when it comes down to civil rights, affirmative action, because I was in high school when affirmative action came, when that law was passed and it came into being. And I thought when it came, I said, this is not going to be good. This is not a good thing, because we were making strides, right? We were making strides. Now I had a different. There is, I think, a different socialization for people up north versus people in the south versus people in different regions of the country. But being in Detroit, where you had a lot of power brokers, a lot of people that were in positions of power back in the 60s, and even going up to the 50s and 60s, you could kind of see it evolving, that kind of thing. Because Martin Luther King came to Detroit to sit down with the leaders in Detroit. And he first tried his I Have a Dream speech in Detroit. A lot of people don't know that. And then he went to DC and he said it before, but he came to Detroit and he said that. But anything that we do is going to be good for the overall Black community, our cousins, right? And that's the way I put it, because they're our cousins. They're my cousins. And I've told people this before. My family has been mixed for hundreds of years, so I don't have any white family members. I don't know any white family members. I don't think there are any that existed for over 100 years, right? So I just don't. It's not my socialization. So they are my cousins, But I think that for affirmative action, it was meant for people of what's that? ADOS, American
Yeah,
Descendant.
the FBA, Foundational Black Americans.
Right. And that's another schism, I guess. But American descendants of slaves, the affirmative action was to specifically correct that wrong. And that's where it was for. So I'm all for, this category to be established, because in a city like mine, you could go to the Starbucks at Wayne State's med school and at the hospital center, and all the med students and the interns, the residential interns, they're not Black, but they're all minority. And they just took the slots as a minority. And so my thing with how the group has splintered, because you have this guy, and I think he's pretty good, but I just can't get with the fact that it's only biracial, because from biracial, what's the next generation? They're no longer biracial. So you as a parent, you get so high and mighty about calling yourself biracial, and it can only be people that have a white parent and a black parent, a part of this category mulatto that you want to push. But yet, the minute you procreate, then that's gone. So your children aren't even included in that. And so my thing is, yes, we do need to have a specific category for descendants of enslaved people. I don't call myself descendant of slaves. We were enslaved. And then we need a colored category or whatever term it comes on. But that's going to benefit us and our cousins and our dark skinned cousins, you know, because right now everybody's just, you know, eating off of us.
Facts.
I just came back to the conversation. What I missed.
Well, I began to talk about how I'm flummoxed over the fact that they had this conversation about either a white mother or a black mother for biracials. And then the biracials are saying they're different from multi-generationally mixed people, et cetera. And I don't understand it.
That was, like I said, that was created by a couple problematic individuals that were trying to take the conversation a different way.
Yeah.
Never gonna get any place doing that though. Not with that.
Right. Absolutely. And that was just them. To me, one of them was probably one thing that I truly believe is that they was either coming from an emotional spot, because when you think, you know, again, with your emotions, it can just be either so all over the place that you're not thinking with a full deck.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention that, and even when it comes, and again, and shout out to all my biracial brothers and sisters, but this was already, you know, sort of like in the statistics that they're only born like one generation per 20, either 19 or 20 years, like, because they're not reproduce, they don't reproduce like that.
No.
And because they don't reproduce like that, that just really goes to show you, okay, you do have to come up with a better strategy rather than separate, you know, for people who have white mothers, and it wasn't just necessarily white mothers and black mothers. You even had black fathers and white fathers.
Mm-hmm.
That also came into play. And so I'm just like, so basically this is what your little inner civil war you're having due to what your parents are, and whoever was spouting off and feeding you certain information, you take on their ideologies, and then you think you're going to get very far. No.
And you're already a small number to begin with.
You're already a what?
You're already a small number to begin
right,
with. So
exactly.
Making it even smaller distinct. It's like cutting an atom into even smaller pieces.
Mm-hmm. Well, my thing is just when if they're in school like we were in school, they're going to face the same type of bullying, the same type of name calling and harassment. I don't know about bullying. We had a bully. That's the other thing, that the term is thrown around a lot. We had bullies in school. And as I told my daughter when she was coming up in high school, like, you know what? As boys, we were told growing up that we had to protect the girls, right? No matter that if they had brothers or they didn't have brothers, if we were out at a party, if we were going to be hanging out at the park, no matter what, the boys, regardless of whether they were your sister, cousin, friend, you had to protect them, right? Bullies got their shit handed to them all the time. And they didn't do that anymore, right? Bullying is just, I think it's just thrown around now so easily. But the biracials face the very same taunts, the very same kidding. If somebody was kidding with you or name calling, that a light-skinned person got. So that's why I don't understand necessarily them being so fervently wanting to say no, we're not like you. You know.
And going back to, like what I stated earlier, that, it comes down to your disgruntled internalization, or where you think you fit in the world. Even if, again, because again, we all hear the term light skin thrown around so much. And then for that one small, stain, or like when you have a whole bag of fruit and sometimes certain fruit has these brown spots, it's no longer, like either you can eat it or just throw it away.
Mm-hmm.
They spoil the bunch, and they think that because they believe that they're better than MGM people or light-skinned Black people. So simply because of them being a one race different from what the other parent is. And it's like, okay, that's fine, but at the same time, it's pretty much, you're again, you being born into the world wasn't necessarily a right; it was a privilege and a blessing at that.
Yeah, for me, I don't get. I mean, I've heard kind of this one guy talk about it that way, but we're better. But I mean, to me, that's.
And plus, they was also, and plus, they were being very divisive and very racial within their own group of people. And it's like, are you really helping them, or are you trying to establish some other or whatever category that you're trying to come off of into accepting the word mulatto? And it's like, well, some people, they're gonna find, oh, it's all right. Then you have those that don't, because it
Yeah,
has.
group think. Here's the deal. I mean, unless the group that has a common goal is willing to set aside some of their differences and agree to disagree on the finer points in order to get to the goal, you'll never reach it, because it's just going to be like somebody just said, you're splitting an atom.
Yeah.
So you're never going to get there.
But I think those guys had their own agendas anyway. So you can't really, you're not going to get too far with their ideology.
Yeah, that's to me that's just unfortunate, because when you strip away all the fine delineations that they're making, they're facing the very same actions, the verbal jabs that a multi-generationally mixed person, a light-skinned person, is facing. And so now I don't say splitting an atom, I say splitting hairs, but you're just not going to reach your goal doing something like that, because here's the deal. There's a guy that wrote this book called The Bell Curve. and this guy was the first in his family to go to college, and he happened to go to Harvard. And he came up with all these hypotheses that have been destroyed, stating that white people were genetically more intelligent, right? And I got to interact with this guy on a number of occasions. One during a book signing, one during a call-in show, two call-ins, and I asked him, I said, well, let me ask you something. You say that if genetics it plays a role in it, and the only reason you were unable to go to college, the first person in your family to go to college, is because you guys didn't have the money, but yet there were Black people who came from the same circumstances that went to college, and now they're 4, 5, 6 generations college educated. Wouldn't you say that their genetics is predisposed to be more intelligent than you? And he had no answer. And when he tried to come back, he was being interviewed, I think, at the University of Michigan. And the person, the host for the radio station at the university said, he's got a point. So what do you say to that? And he tried to say, well, it's only because we didn't have the opportunity. I said, I just explained to you that the people that went to college in the 1800s and early 1900s came from the same background. You see, what you are unwilling to recognize is that you are an affirmative action admittance as a farm boy coming from Iowa or Nebraska, wherever you are, because that is an exception on college admittances. They will go through the applications and they'll say, we need somebody from underrepresented areas of the United States. We need people from underrepresented areas that are urban, are not urban. So you want to say that you're genetically superior, yet you don't even admit or recognize the fact that you got into Harvard as an affirmative action set aside admittance, because nobody from Nebraska, nobody from the farm was being admitted in numbers, and they had to create a slot for somebody like you. And I'm not making this stuff up. I am not making this stuff up. That is how colleges, elite colleges, all over the country take people in. You may not have the highest GPA, but you know what? We need a doctor to go back to their community in Nebraska for underrepresented population. And the underrepresented population are the people that live in Nebraska. It's only 2 million people out there. It's just like the Appalachia, right? And so I kind of lost the reason I was saying it, but it's a matter of, I know what it was. It's a matter of when the biracial say we're superior to you because we have a white parent, they're lost. They're lost in the sauce, because I can point to so many families that I know that are MGMs, are Black, and have multi-generationally college educated families. Go ahead.
I think with a lot of those type, a lot of them, for starters, a lot of them are trolls, and two, I think a lot of them have like internalized. A lot of their parents, they were conceived out of for all the wrong reasons. I think they were pretty much racist parents that just for God knows what reason just procreated with one another. And they
Mhm.
passed on some of those preconceived racist notions onto the kids.
And my thing, and also, for individuals like that, and it doesn't always have to pertain to them, but even for that unrepresented population in these rural Midwestern areas in general of the United States, like Iowa, Nebraska, what have you, if they get told that they're just good or they're exceptional, it's not good enough for them to just to hear, oh, they're just good or they're just the exceptional. So they want the unrepresented class of people to sort of be on the forefront of the elite. And because they're not necessarily up on the forefront of the class of the elite, and other people have succeeded them, it does something to them egotistically, psychologically.
Yeah, I
To
think you're right on that point.
about the egotistically and
Mhm.
psychologically.
That's how they come across. That's how they sound when they say that.
Yeah. And it's like, and so you want to sort of, it's like you try, but you fail to want to discredit for all the people who did come up in a similar circumstances, but they just have a different genetic form of makeup.
Right.
They did it.
Right.
Yeah, they didn't have.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying about the guy who wrote the bell curve. He thought genetically he was superior, and he was discredited all the way around. And so these people that say, because I have a white parent, one right white parent, I'm superior. Give me a break. I mean, that just to me that it makes you sound silly.
Yeah, and it's like we knew where they were coming from. They were trying to throw a wrench, throw a monkey wrench in the program to to be very divisive and separatist and say, "Oh well, we're different from you," and it's like, well, yes and no, but at the same time, you're not because you're gonna go through the same very adversity what all of us who don't have the same genetics in regards to having such a white parent does.
I always
And
say people are gonna treat you like how they see you.
Exactly.
Definitely.
If you're like, if they see a light skinned person, they're gonna treat you as a light skinned person. They don't matter. They don't say, "Oh well, they got a black parent, so no, no, you're gonna get the light skinned jokes just like any other person will."
Yeah.
And don't let you be in a black community where you're pretty much the only light skin. Oh, they don't care about that.
Right. You're gonna get roasted.
yep, and most possibly be the whole, just basically be the center of attention in a negative light,
But see, that's
like
that's
that.
that's the thing though. When I said you're gonna get roasted, you have to be able to give that back and take it. All of it's not. All of it's. I mean, it's some of it when you're kids is just banter, and you got to be able to give it back. And the minute you give it back, it's like playing the dozens in a way. It's cruel, but as a kid in elementary school, junior high, when you get to high school, then it's not banter anymore. It's not. Sometimes it's not a joke anymore, right? Because people know you and they've grown up. They shouldn't be doing that as much. But especially when you get to around 11th, 12th grade. But you just got to be able to You got to be able to roll with it and give it back. And if more people could give it back, I told my daughter I'm not going to say this. I can't say this out. It's just too cruel. Me and my friend had gotten this job. We were 16 years old, and a new Sheraton had been built. So me and my friend, they were looking for the restaurant help. We were going out for the restaurant help. And we wanted to get the room service because we knew that's where the tips were going to be, right? No, we got the busboy, right? And so me and my friend, there's another guy, a Jewish guy. He was the same age. Well, he got the room service. Like, ain't that a bitch? So he gets the room service, and we're naive. Look, we're barely 16, all three of us, barely 16, working on the early shift, had to be at work at real early in the morning for breakfast at a hotel, right? And we're calling each other names. We called each other the worst racial names attributed to our ethnic groups. And we'd be running around the kitchen. The minute we hit the door from the dining area to the kitchen, we'd be calling each other names, right? Banter. The Jewish guy would be calling us names, we'd be calling him names, right? So regardless of whether you know the worst Jewish name in the book is, we called him that, right? And he called us that. Well, I guess the general manager of the hotel, he got upset, and he was like, he said, "You boys, you have to stop that." We're like, "Stop what?" And he's calling each other names, and we told the general manager then, you only hired, he only got the job because he's white, and the general manager was looking at us like, what? And so at a very young age, we were calling the general man, we were calling the white bosses out at 16 years old, saying you gave him the job because he's a white boy, right? He gets paid more in tips. We have to get a few cents in tips left on the table, and the waitresses don't even give us our tips. So, it was even back then. You have to be able to do the give and take, and I just think sometimes the banter is something that that the kids aren't nowadays just aren't able to digest. They take it, it's I don't know. I don't sometimes I don't get that because of the time that I grew up and the way we would joke with each other.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
I
sense.
definitely hear you on that one. But hey, man, I'm calling it. It's
Yeah.
a great night. It's been a great talk with you guys. I don't know if you
I
guys want to stay up
appreciate
for a
it.
little longer, but hopefully you guys have a good night. Hope to be on the next live stream. You got an idea when's the next live stream, Brown Page?
I'm gonna try to live stream a bit more. Um, I'll probably be on like another week or two.
All right, man.
I will look for you. And I hadn't seen you guys, so I came up and I talked a lot. So I appreciate you letting me be up
Oh,
here.
we appreciate the convo, man.
Absolutely.
Okay. You guys have a good one.
You too.
You too. Okay. I keep telling people it. At the end of the day, if they see a light skinned person of African American descent, you're gonna get joked about regardless. It don't matter biracial, light skin. It don't matter. Well, I think I'm gonna call it a night, guys. It's definitely been fun talking to y'all. We definitely got some good dialogue going today. I think we definitely addressed the issue at hand. And I appreciate AMR, Tor, and Invisible Man, aka Thunder, joining the stream. We got a good dialogue going. And that's really what I want this platform to be about. Just getting dialogue going. Get the conversations going. Like, talk about this stuff. There's enough people that are ignoring these problems. It's time to start bringing these problems to the forefront. And we need to start calling these people out, rightfully so. Because if we don't, nobody else is going to. But I think I'm going to call it a night, guys. I appreciate all the people for watching and sticking with me. I know it's been kind of frustrating lately, but keep an eye out for some more videos. Peace out, everyone.